Hello guys and girls, welcome back to RC Cars UK. I'm Paddy, thanks very much for joining me today. Now today we're going to talk about a little bit of a controversial subject. We're going to talk about traxxas. Now we all know traxxas, right? If you're in the hobby, you've probably heard of traxxas. You've probably heard of the lawsuits that traxxas have been involved in to do with high profile RC companies. So everybody's going to start thinking straight away, okay, high profile RC companies, traxxas versus Armour, traxxas versus, you know, whoever, Hobbyco, should I say. This video today is going to tell you all about traxxas's lawsuits, but here's the thing, there's a lot of lawsuits that traxxas have been involved in that you might not actually even be aware of. Some of them I wasn't aware of, and not a lot shocks me, but yeah, I mean, some of the things you can make up your own mind. We're just sticking to the facts here, so I'm not detrimenting traxxas, I'm not defaming them in any way, so the lawyers can sod off, they're not coming after me. But basically I can't use any of the branding, any of the logos, anything like that, but I can give you factual information. If you just want to run through some of the bigger names, traxxas has actually took Amazon to court, they've took Volkswagen to court, they've took Mattel to court, Jack's Pacific to court. Who else have they took to court? Real estate companies, insurance companies, toy companies, the list goes on, RC companies, the list is pretty much, yeah. I counted roughly about 100 cases from roughly about the year 2008. So if you want to do the maths on that, that's 14 years, 100 cases. That's quite a few cases a year there for traxxas lawyers to get their little vampiric teeth into. So we're going to start with the RC companies first. We'll get to the big hitters right at the end, but for now let's do the ones that we all know. We're going to do the RC companies first, we're going to do the randos in the middle, and then right at the end we're going to do the big names like Volkswagen and Amazon and the reasons behind traxxas taking them to court. So let's start off with RC companies. As I've previously mentioned, you obviously know about the Hobbyco case where 2018 traxxas took Hobbyco, which was a subsidiary, Armour was a subsidiary of Hobbyco, to court for a cantilever suspension design that traxxas held the patent on. So we probably already know about that one, right? Probably what you don't know is that back in 2008 was when the penchant for, a lot of people will call it patent trolling. I won't go that far. I will say that they are just protecting their patents, and you can make your own mind up as to whether that's trolling or not. Back in 2008, there's a company called Offner, which we all know. Offner, they do the Hobeo. They're called Hobeo in a different country. You might think, where did Offner go? Well, the Offner side of the branch died out pretty much after 2008, and here's a good reason why. So Offner, being the American sort of name brand of Hobeo, came out with a fuel tank design on the Hyper 8 buggy back in 2008, and traxxas took a bit of a dislike into that, took them to court. I believe they won that one. I will comment on whether they won or not. Some cases are a bit inconclusive because they're obviously going back quite a way now, but yeah, that was the first one for an RC company. 2008 it was Hobeo, Offner, over a fuel tank design. So fast forward 1 year from 2008 to 2009, and traxxas decided to take a company called Trinity to court. Now Trinity, you'll probably know if you've been in the RC racing scene, they were quite a prolific ESC and motor manufacturer back in the day. I believe that was over intellectual property theft. I don't know the outcome of that case, but hey ho. So fast forward on again, 2014, and they're now taking Hobby Products International to court. You will know them as HPI Racing, and that was over a receiver box design that contained a little rubber strip, making it waterproof. Now traxxas did hold a patent for a box that held a receiver on an RC car that was waterproof. So obviously when traxxas brought out a waterproof one, they took them to court and won. So I believe that case was roughly in the $2 million lawsuit, because HPI had used that same receiver box on about 7 of the models. So fast forward only a couple of months later, and they're taking Hobby King to court. Now Hobby King, as you will know, is a well-known Asian RC distributor. They distribute RC parts from various manufacturers. That was over an electrical connector assembly. So later on in 2014, after successfully pursuing litigation against HPI Racing, they pursued Hobby King International. I believe they won that case as well. Don't know how much that one was related for, but that was over an electrical connector assembly. Basically, an electrical connection, as we all know. I don't know the ins and outs of that, but it was touted as IP theft. So, make your mind up there once again. Fast forward to 2018, they took a number of companies to court in 2018. They've been ramping up their sort of defense of the patents that they hold, should I say. I'm being very careful how I word this. So in that year they took a number of people to court, but most prolifically was the Hobbyco case that they obviously did win against Hobbyco / Armo of the inboard cantilever shock design, which Traxxas did not invent, but currently held a patent for. So fast forward to 2020, and an RC company that they took to court then was a company called McLaren Racing, and they make high-end ESCs and RC motors, brushless usually, for the racing scene, usually 10th scale. Think 2-wheel drive circuit buggies, stuff like that, 4-wheel drive little SCTs. Well, they had an ESC that they called the M Max. Now keep that in your mind, because a lot of the patents that Traxxas are pursuing people for litigation for are actually related to the names as well. So it's not just product infringement as in IP theft, it's intellectual property theft, because Traxxas seems to think that, and has successfully defended in a lot of cases, seems to think that basically because they have products that are called a Max, a T-Max, an X-Max, and this is what they're relating to a lot of the time. This is why they took a lot of toy companies to court, and Chinese companies to court, and insurance companies to court, and all sorts of holdings companies and all sorts, was relating to that name Max. But anyway, they won that case against McLaren Racing because McLaren had an ESC called the M Max. So the last RC company on the list for Traxxas suing is, I forget, it'll come to me. Right, so the last company that Traxxas ended up suing was a company called DSMTC. Now, you will know them as Easy RC. Now, this is in 2022, the year that we're currently in, and this is the last RC company that Traxxas have taken to court for litigation, and I'm assuming it was to do with some of the wording that Easy RC had used during the promotion of their products. As you may or may not know, Traxxas own a patent for Easy Start and Easy Peak. Now, those are patents relating to the branding of electrical chargers for batteries for hobby-based RC products, right? So obviously, Easy RC, even though it was spelled E-A-Z-Y, it had the E and it had the Z, and they were using some things like Easy Go and stuff like that in the branding, which Traxxas obviously took a disliking to. So 2022, the last one that Traxxas took to court was Easy RC, and I believe that they won, which is now why you don't see much Easy RC stuff about. You'll find it's now branded as FMS. So let's move on. What are we going to talk about next? We'll talk about the randos, and I'll be very quick on this one. So the randos that they've taken to court, I saw a plethora of Chinese companies, 50 maybe, 40, 50 companies plus, that had basically strayed into the realms of Traxxas's line of fire, if you want to call it that, for patent defending, because they'd called product stuff like Max Go. Mattel, for example, had a product called Trax Max, which was just a little light toy sort of monster truck, if you will. But because it said Trax Max and it was a toy, it was being sold in the same channels, so Traxxas took them to court to get them to stop doing that. I don't know the outcome of a lot of these rando cases, and I'm just going to flick over it quickly. So it's not just them, it's Jack's Pacific. There's big names in there as well, you know, it isn't just the little ones that they've gone after. Mattel, Jack's Pacifics are big subsidiaries of parent companies that are far bigger than Traxxas. But sometimes they've successfully defended these patents. I will say they're always in an American court, obviously because Traxxas is an American company owned by Mike Jenkins. Hello Mike, if you're watching. No personal beef with you. Right, so basically, who else is the randos? There's insurance companies. So they've got a lot of tort cases on there. And I'd be thinking, what on earth is a tort case? Now, a tort case is a breach of contract, not IP theft or anything relating to patents. It's a breach of contract case, a tort case. Now, there was a number of tort cases on the court dockets listed under traxxas. They range from insurance companies, health companies, supply companies. There's been quite a lot of different companies. Random ones like Feld Motorsports. You will know Feld Motorsports if you're in America. They run the Monster Jam series, Monster Max, Monster Jam series. Now Feld Motorsports and traxxas have been in court quite a number of times because I believe they tried to do litigation against each other no less than 4-5 times over the years. I don't know how that all came about. I believe it was to do with licensing issues, not so much IP theft, but licensing issues. So there's other ones as well. So I noticed there was a guy that had a company called Summit Holdings. Now, because traxxas have a model called the Summit, Traxxas Summit, they took them to court even though it was non-relatable. I believe they lost that one actually because it was non-relatable, which results in what they call a non-jurisdiction. They'll only have jurisdiction to defend a patent traxxas if it's in the same sector. So a toy sector, for example, not a financial holdings company as this was. But yeah, it gets even more ridiculous from here. I do note as well on the last one of the randos, New Bright have also been in court with traxxas about 4 or 5 times as well. They've met each other in litigation circumstances about 4 or 5 times, which is quite interesting. There's been quite a number of them that have ended up in court with traxxas a number of times actually. So another couple of the random ones, there was a company called Skullduggery Inc. Skullduggery Inc. And that was based out of America, and obviously they have they had some sort of patent issue, some IP theft issue with that traxxas had with them. There's Textron Industries, which are a big group, Textron Group, and they had an issue with them, and that's usually relating to, on the rando side of it, things called Max or Summit or Max Group or Max Go or Trax Max Toys and stuff like that. Anything to do with the word Max at all across any sector, traxxas went after them. Now here's the big hitters, and these will make you laugh. So we'll start with the most famous big hitter, the one that you've probably already heard about already, right? And that is also relating to Max. It's a company that we all know, HBO. So home box office entertainment. So we all know HBO, right? Especially you guys in America right now will know HBO. So HBO registered a patent for a trademark of HBO Max, which is a home streaming service for HBO basically, that's connected to a few of their other subsidiaries. But it's a home streaming service basically. And HBO is a company that's been going for over 50 years. But they only registered the patent for, or should I say the IP for HBO Max around about 3 years ago now, 2 to 3 years ago, and nothing. Nobody heard a word about anything. And that was registered in America. So that was a native registration of an IP, right? So there's 2 levels to IP registration. There's native, which is in your own country where the company resides or trades from. And then there's an international one, which covers the entire world. When the international one went through to court, and traxxas then put in an objection to say that, hang on, we own the rights to Max, we own the word Max, apparently. So I think traxxas is getting a little bit compounded in the fact that they're not really pursuing people to do with specifically toy-related products called Max. They're just pursuing anybody with the word Max or anything that has anything related to them. I believe that case is still ongoing. I'll be very interested to see the outcome of that. HBO, a company that turns over a very large amount of money, considerably more than the puny amount that traxxas is turning over in comparison. Traxxas is a company that turns over 50 to 100 million a year, but that's not HBO money, that's small fry money to HBO. So I'm very interested to see how that one plays out, I'll tell you that. Another big hitter, right? Here's a big hitter. Volkswagen. Traxxas tried to take Volkswagen to court, and you'd be thinking, what on earth is that about? Volkswagen, yes, the second largest car manufacturer in the world, with a turnover of 250 billion euros, not dollars, euros, was taken to court by Traxxas, and this is still ongoing as far as I'm aware, over Traxxas taking issue with Volkswagen registering an IP again. So Volkswagen tried to register an IP which was ID Buzz. You may have seen that Volkswagen, obviously being the second largest car manufacturer in the world, are starting to get into the hybrid and the electric car industry, and they are making products that are related to that, right? So they have a car out, and the charger or something related to the charging of that car, or the moniker, the name of that car under the Volkswagen brand, was a Volkswagen Polo ID Buzz. And Traxxas said, well, hang on, we have a charger that does ID charging, and they've got that registered as a patent, ID charging. So they put 2 and 2 together, got 5, and said, right, ID is ours, we own that, surely, even though they're a toy manufacturer. I don't know what's happening with that, but I believe, once again, you'd be pretty foolish to take Volkswagen to court for something like that. Volkswagen is a company that will put a couple of billion, just like Mercedes and other large car automotive manufacturers will. They'll put a couple of billion into the development of one car. Now, if you're dealing with someone that's going to put a couple of billion into the development of one car, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar that they are not going to back down to your litigation request to cease and desist. So that's going to be another interesting one. Now you'll be thinking, come on, how much more ridiculous can this get, Paddy? Well, it can get even more ridiculous. A massive name. There's no one on the planet, I believe, that hasn't at least heard of this company. Amazon. Yeah, you heard me right. Amazon. Traxxas took Amazon to court, basically surrounding the labeling of products that Amazon was selling. Now, Amazon was selling products that were, as Traxxas described, allowing unjust enrichment because it was infringing on Traxxas's IP. Now, once again, I'm picking my words very carefully. You may want to go and fact check all this, be my guest, go help yourself, do your own research. It was over something that they called a quad rotor model helicopter frame. To me and you, that's a quadcopter. It's a drone. Some people know them as a drone. It's a quadcopter. Now, how I believe Amazon may have infringed that is that they, possibly quite rightly or wrongly, depending on which side of the fence you fall on, Amazon sold these products directly to customers, even though the Amazon business model works on using their own warehouses to store private sellers or company sellers, retailers' products, to then dispatch them directly to a customer, rather than the eBay method of being a marketplace for manufacturers and companies and private individuals. Amazon is a bit different, isn't it? Amazon actually stores these goods in a locker or a safe room, let's say, on behalf of the company, and then they list them, or the company lists them, however that works. And over a number of listings on the Amazon website, products have been sold under the moniker quad rotor model helicopter frame. Traxxas took issue with that and took Amazon to court. And now I don't know the outcome of that one either. Here's the thing with a lot of the big hitters. You'll notice when you go and do your own research and you think, is Paddy just talking absolute crap? Is he just made this up off the top of the head? Well, please feel free to go and do your own research. You will find much evidence of this, of these cases. But here's the thing, a lot of these people, including Traxxas themselves, once they've either lost the case or settled the case out of court, you will find that they've applied for anonymity, which means they put a gagging order basically on anybody disclosing any information, which means a lot of the court dockets surrounding the reason why they were taken to court in the first place have now disappeared from public directory. Now, if you're a member of the PACER, if you're in America, which is the public access to court electronic records, for a small fee, I think you can join that program, or if you're in the court system, you can join that program. I don't really know how that works. but you can view all these dockets in detail. I obviously don't have that access. You might be able to tell from my accent, I'm not from America. I'm from England, so I don't have access to that. I don't have knowledge of how that works. So if you guys in America want to go and see how that works, you can do. But yeah, there's just a little roundup of just some of the 100 or so people and companies that traxxas have taken to court over the last 14 years. Some of these companies have suffered as a result. Whether that's rightly or wrongly, I'll leave that up to yourselves to make that decision. One thing I will add is that traxxas seem to be a little overzealous. You may be able to form your own opinion about that. I'm not going to, finger either way. Traxxas is a company that I've used. I've used traxxas products. I have traxxas RCs. But yeah, I think you'll find a lot of people, especially people within the hobby, have been left with a little bit of a sour taste in the mouth over the years regarding traxxas's courtroom antics, as a lot of people put it. So yeah, traxxas, an RC company that's taken on pretty much anybody that they want to. So there you go. Thanks very much, and traxxas, I look forward to receiving your cease and desist letter in the post. Cheers for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, friends.